Well, my name is Richard Sobek. They predominantly call me Bear, which is what I've been called for 75 years. I'm currently the commander of American Legion Post 327 in Shawnee, Kansas. And my partner in crime here, Tom Go.
Yeah, Tom Seberger. I am the adjutant for the American Legion post here in Shawnee 327. So together we run the post.
I like it. And important note that Tom is also on the Homes Association. So him being my neighbor, I'm very well connected around the community.
That's what it's all about is connections.
Yeah, he was saying he could go over and knock on your door if he needed.
Yeah. Well, my wife asked if Tom and I were just if Tom was just going to come over here, and I was like, "Well, I thought about that," but I was like I guess Nick and I have done that, but also like there is another gentleman joining us, and so like I don't. I was like, it'd be kind of like it's almost less weird if we're all just at our computers. I don't know why, but anyway, so to jump in on the Legion here, so what is the? I mean, I know this is a kind of a loaded question. What is kind of the main benefits of the Legion? Why are soldiers a part of it? What are they getting out of it aside from helping each other? Go ahead and take us off with that.
Well, a brief uh, uh, involvement or formation of the American Legion, which took place back in 1921. Uh, There are other veteran service organizations involving veterans. The one that we are heavily involved with right now is the American Legion. Uh, and the American Legion and the Veterans of Foreign Wars were basically split insofar as what your eligibility was to belong to either organization. Congress, a couple of years ago, passed a rule that said uh, no matter who you are or what service you were in, you're eligible to belong to the American Legion, which
Provided
opened
it
up,
was active duty.
right, right, which opened up the American Legion as far as membership goes. And some of the restrictions originally were if you were a veteran of a specific time frame. And it
Oh,
no
okay.
longer means from this year to this year, from this conflict to this conflict. We are now an open organization of veterans serving veterans.
Interesting. Okay, I did not know about that stipulation. That's interesting because I
Yeah,
know the
and
V.
go
Go
ahead.
ahead. Go no.
No,
I was just gonna say because I know the VFW, you have to have been to war, veterans of foreign wars,
Right.
and so yeah, that's an interesting detail here that I did not uncover in my initial research.
yeah, and then the parent organization, the American Legion itself, has many things that it advocates for. It advocates for legislation that benefits veterans. Um, they have one of the programs that Bear and I both are heavily involved in is called Be the One. This is a program to help veterans reach out to veterans to prevent veteran suicide. They have get out the vote programs, they have youth programs, they have boys state, you know, and girls state, and several other different, types of programs that they do provide and support out there in the communities.
Okay, excellent. I know that, or I understand, I should say, that kind of, well, along with the VFW, the American Legion was a big piece in getting the original GI Bill passed. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Yep. And they were
That's all.
heavily involved in getting the PACT Act
Oh yeah,
passed, which is
yeah.
recent one. I'm a Gulf War vet, and I'm know that you are too, Sam. So those burn pits and stuff. That is a really current act that's passed where you don't have to prove your disease was caused by that. If you
Mhm.
were there and you can prove you were there, then the whole gamut of diseases and stuff that were in the PACT Act, they will accept it.
Yes, yeah, it's awesome. We've got, granted, a while back, we have an episode on the PACT Act for anyone wanting to know more, but that's a very good overview of the legislature. And it was really great legislature because, like Tom said, I mean, just some of it's common sense. You know, you're not exposed to a lot of burn pits in the United States, but a place like Afghanistan is one of the most polluted countries in the world. And so for them to deny claim of breathing issues when you've been to Afghanistan for 9 months or more is kind of insane. So, um, yeah, that's great. So far as people getting connected with the American Legion, what are some of the best ways? I mean, I'm assuming there's a website, probably people you can email, reach out to, show up. What are the best ways?
There's legion.org, which is the national. And just to put in a plug, because we are here from Shawnee and we're both from our post, it's 327.legionpost.us.
Okay.
And on it, it talks about our posts specifically. It talks about how getting into contact with us and stuff. And then one thing that the state of Kansas has is a veterans service office at the state level.
Okay.
Well,
Good deal.
and another thing too is when, for instance, the Be the One program, uh, as Tom pointed out, it's a special program that the American Legion has set up throughout the country, and then in each state, in each district. Our post is in District 2. I'm an executive committee member for District 2. But our emphasis right now is the Be the One program. And it's a matter of talking to people. Are you a veteran? And if you're a veteran, do you belong someplace? Do you have a veteran family someplace that you can reach out to? Uh, uh, we we have our Facebook that we try to set in front of everybody. If you want to get a hold of us, I carry a card that says, "All right, here's my personal phone number, here's my personal email, and here's what we're doing. Get a hold of us." Um, Honor Squad. I have people that have known me for a long time. I've been associated with not only the American Legion, but I'm a life member of the Veterans of Foreign Wars. And so I have a lot of people that have known me that have family members that are veterans. They get a hold of me saying, is there something we can do to help? And what you have to do is you have to make sure that they understand what you're there for. Uh, we have an oath that we take at the American Legion, and Tom can say it better than I can.
Yeah, it starts out that for God and country, we associate ourselves for the following purpose: to uphold and defend the Constitution of the United States of America, to maintain law and order, to foster and perpetuate a 100% Americanism, to preserve the memories and incidents of our association in the Great Wars, to inculcate a sense of individual obligations to the community, state, and nation, to combat the autocracies in both the classes and the masses, to make right the master of might, to promote peace and goodwill on earth, to safeguard and transmit to posterity the principles of justice, freedom, and democracy, to consecrate and sanctify our comradeship and our devotion to our mutual helpfulness.
And I don't want to step on you, Tom, but it no longer is the Great Wars. It's
All wars. Yep. I remember that after I was like,
when the Legion was originally formed, that's all we knew back in those days was the Great Wars, which was at that time World War One, and we had the Spanish American War before that.
Mhm.
and the wars that we were involved in prior to that. So that's why they came up with the Great Wars. But now, because of the conflicts that we've been through since World War One, it's all wars. And I might point out that not all American Legion members have been in war per se, but they've been associated with wars because of the jobs that they did here at home.
Mhm.
If it wasn't for those individuals, some of us that were in strange places wouldn't be here at home.
Yeah, I think that's something that gets underlooked by usually the people in those positions themselves, not so much other people. But they kind of lack the. I don't know if it's a leadership didn't motivate them or just no one thought of it. But when people have, they don't go overseas, but they don't understand that their job is still integral to people who are overseas, and that's a good thing to highlight that, I think.
Well, it's like Rosie the Riveter. And we're getting more women on that note in the American Legion. We're getting more women on that note in the Veterans of Foreign Wars. But if you go back to when the women first started stepping up, it had nothing to do with leadership involving them. It had to do with them being involved because they had husbands and sons in places that needed the help. And so the women jumped up and helped out. We had grandfathers and fathers and sons in places where men jumped up to help out. You
Mhm.
know, if we didn't have the men running the ships, a whole lot of people would have never gotten there. If we didn't have men running the planes,
Mhm.
we would have never had supplies. We would have never had the things that we needed in foreign countries.
Yeah. What Bear, what brought you to the Legion at first? Was this something you went straight
Yeah.
into?
You got about 2 seconds? No. At the time I joined the American Legion, I was the commander of my VFW post down in Paola, Kansas. And a very dear friend of mine who was an officer at the American Legion post across the street from the VFW came in one day and he says, "There, you belong to the Legion, right?" I says, "No." He says, "Why?" I said, "Because I've never really thought about it. I've been the commander. I've been the commander here at this post for 3 years, and I just haven't had a lot of time because I've been devoted here to the post." So Carl, God love you, Carl, he's passed, looked at me and he says, "All right, you need to come across the street, join the American Legion." I said, "That's fine, and you need to stand right here and join the Veterans of Foreign Wars." So he filled out that form. I went across the street and filled out that form. And let's see, what is it, 22 years later? I've been in the American Legion now between Paola and now Shawnee. And of course, I wouldn't trade Shawnee for anything, especially when I got people like Tom keeping me mellow and keeping me from not doing something stupid as the commander. But that's how I got into the Legion.
Okay. And Tom, what brought you in?
When I returned from Desert Shield, Desert Storm, the community where I grew up in Nebraska actually paid for the first year of membership for VFW, for the
Hmm.
local VFW post. So after I was there, um, I started hearing things about the Legion also, and then I joined them a couple years after that.
Okay. Good deal. Um, so what are how about any success stories? Maybe from people calling in that were thinking about committing suicide, or just other things you guys have been able to accomplish as a group that help the community out.
I wouldn't say specifically the suicide is probably the biggest thing that we get visualized. It's, as Bear talked about earlier, it's our honor squad.
Mhm.
We go out, we average 2 or 3 funerals a week where our honor squad goes out and provides the gun salute for those veterans. And I can't think of one funeral yet where we've gone and a family member has not come up in tears, expressing their appreciation for us getting out there. Rain, sun, heat, cold. We go out there and do it because it's our honors to do that for those veterans. And to me, I think that's one of the biggest success stories for the American Legion is, to be there for that veteran, as he's going to his final resting place.
Yeah.
Well,
Uh,
and another thing too, Sam. Tom brought up the honor squad. Uh, Out of the honor squad, our name is given, uh, which means we get phone calls from senior centers to come and do honors for them. We get phone calls from schools to come do honor programs for them, especially on special days. Memorial and Veterans Day ceremonies that we hold, that people actually see that and they come up and talk to you. And maybe one of them's a veteran that says, well, how can I join? Where do I go? What's your address? And those are the things provided by an American Legion post that is dedicated to giving to the community. That's part of our nature is, yes, we give to ourselves as veterans, but we give to the community. One of the major problems that I've always lived with and have heard is that belonging to an American Legion, why should I go there? It's just a bunch of old farts sitting around getting drunk and talking about war.
that's what I like about it.
Excuse you.
No.
Well, on that note, though, Bear, um, we have a group that shows up at our post every day at 1 o'clock. There's 5 or 6 of them. They sit at the corner of the bar and they have a beer. If one of those 6 is not there, they make phone calls to find out where that person is. That is their way of having a purpose, a place to be, and it goes back to that be the one, checking up on your buddies, to make sure that, people are safe, people are involved, and, that comradeship that goes back to those military. And these 6 guys are not all the same service either. And they rib each other, occasionally, about, oh, you're just Navy or whatever. But, that's kind of the, a nice way to sum up, kind of, what's the purpose?
Yeah.
And we don't sit around and talk war.
Oh, yeah.
That was then. What's today? Yeah, most of us know at some point where each one of us has been and during a particular time. But we don't have enough time to sit around watching war. Let's talk about cartoons, or let's talk about, we had a big discussion the other day about Francis the Talking Mule. And somebody says, do you know who that was? I said, yeah. I says, that was Chill Wills doing the voice and Donald O'Connor playing his counterpart. And they looked at me and says, you're too old to know that stuff. I says, that's why I'm old. I'm still here.
Yeah, I think that both of what you guys just said hit on one of the things that Nick and I have talked about with other people on the show before about, people get accustomed in the military to being in a certain place at a certain time, and they're going to see these same faces. Granted, sometimes you change units, things like that, but in general, you're basically being forced to interact with these other people. Well, when that force goes away, that can be one of the most detrimental parts of being a veteran. That's the scariest or the most dangerous. So when you do find that camaraderie and that obligation to be somewhere and see these other people, and then you get to carry on as you would as if you were showing up to first formation. I think that's a part of a lot of groups that we've interviewed or seen that I'm noticing is very important. And it kind of goes along with another thing Nick and I've talked about that also covers some veteran groups, where kind of like the reason the most successful I want to say one of the most successful programs to help people quit addiction is the anonymous programs like Alcohol Anonymous, Gamblers Anonymous. And they're so successful because it's a group of people that are all going through similar things and maybe at different times, and they're able to help each other. And it's the same thing with these veteran groups, is it gives veterans a chance to, because people want to open up to people that have some idea of what their struggles are. And so when you can meet with a group of people and have confidence and fellowship in that, I think that's hugely important to any group, veteran or otherwise. But so I think it's yet another great staple of something like the American Legion, where that's a pivotal part of it.
Yeah. And that's kind of why I've always been pestering you, hey, you ever thought about the Legion? Or hey, you ever thought about this? And that's why I've been talking to you about meeting with your reserve unit, when they have their family time day or
Mhm.
whatever, to come up and talk to the young veterans. Because in our post, 77% of our post is Vietnam, Korea, or World War II. The young folks, I know your lives are busy, I know it very well.
Yeah, you've seen it.
I've seen it, so we understand that, but, it's to get that new blood in, it gives us new ideas. I'm 7 years younger than Bear, in my career in IT, I've come in, and I've really, tried to, really get us out there, set up a website. We've got our Facebook page up and going. I send out newsletters, and all of this stuff to try and get it. But, this is, that 77%, a lot of them now, they can't get out, and just show up and stuff like that. And, we're trying to get out there and do that recruiting of these young GIs, because, well, I say GI because that's my Army background, but the young veterans, because down the road you are going to be empty nesters, and this is a great place to spend some time, continue that camaraderie, that fellowship, of been through battle.
Yeah,
Well,
absolutely.
and the other thing too is I didn't mention earlier, Tom is my right hand, so to speak, at the post. His rank is adjutant, and he's in charge of all communications with our membership and so forth. Uh, but uh, your question was, well, or Tom brought up, what about the young people? Part of the problem we have nowadays is the young people say, well, I've got family, I'm too involved. And we're saying, hey, come join us, uh, uh, show up once a month for a meeting to find out what's going on around you. And as time goes on, as the kids get a little bit older, you might find yourself, hey, maybe go to a couple of meetings a month. We only have two, but when we offer dances on Friday, we have other activities at the post, family activities. Bring the kids out for Christmas when we have the post Christmas dinner and Santa
Yeah.
Claus shows up. Uh, uh, Bring, on Memorial Day, the Boy Scouts come out and help us, and they run their little butts off, putting up flags at 3 cemeteries,
Oh
and
yeah.
then going back and picking up the flags at 3 ceremonies. And their parents are helping out. One of the leaders of the post over in Shawnee used to be one of the scouts when I was a scoutmaster there.
Oh, okay.
And he's now one of the scoutmasters there at the post. But his son comes out and busted his tail, got his Eagle Scout award doing a flag pole fix at one of the cemeteries, but his dad's heavily involved.
Mhm.
His dad comes to the meetings when he can. It's not required, but when you can, come participate. So we're not trying to put stress on anybody.
No.
Yeah.
And on that note, we have usually in late spring we have a family day where we have
Okay.
activities and stuff. Try and get families and stuff there. When we can, we have car shows. So we do all of these other activities. You know, for the families. And then our big one, Toys for Tots.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, what was it, Bear, this year? About 3,000 toys we collected?
No, 300. At our post, yeah. But overall, when I went out there, well, being a member of the Marine Corps League and active in Toys for Tots, when I went out there, we had over 300,000 toys that we brought in from all the sites that I'm involved in helping, and the rest of the Marines in the county are helping. And that's a big thing for kids. Uh, we got a program going right now. One of our auxiliary members has started a program where she's taking donations for one of the local schools. And
Okay.
it's little things like that that make the American Legion what it is, so that people understand, yes, we're a post. Yes, we're a bunch of old veterans. But yes, here's what we need to provide to the community and the people around us.
Awesome. Now, how many activities are pretty consistent within from post to post? And then what are some things, if any, that maybe your post does that maybe not every post does? Things like that.
All right. The post down here where I'm at, they don't have a club room. They predominantly have, because of where the kitchen is situated, they predominantly have dinners and bingo, and that's what keeps their post alive. We have another post. They have a hall just like ours, and they have a couple of dinners. Uh, they don't have dances like we do. We have dances on Friday nights. And I can't remember, Tom, help me out here, if 153 does bingo or not.
153 does Queen of Hearts.
Queen
They
of
don't
Hearts,
do
that's right,
bingo.
Queen of Hearts.
Oh,
But see, we have bingo. Like I said, we have the dances. Uh, our hall gets used quite extensively for family gatherings. If I could tell you how many quinceañeras that we had last year alone, uh, it yeah, place is busy. Uh, but there are different activities. Uh, Not every post has the same activity, but every post has an activity that involves their post members. In our particular case, uh, uh, there's a rule that says you can bring in guests, so we allow guests into our posts. We maintain that, and everybody seems to think, well, heck, you just allow anybody in there. No, we don't allow anybody in there because we are a veteran service organization. This is a veterans club. Somebody made a very bad comment one night, which sent me over the other side. But she said, "Well, why should we worry about language? This is just a bar." We are not just a bar.
mhm.
Overland Park is not just a bar. It's a veteran service organization. Gardner, Olathe, every other American Legion post just around here in District 2. They're not bars, they're veteran service organizations. We do have a club where we can all get together, enjoy a cocktail or a cup of coffee, sit around, joke with each other, and do things for the public.
Yeah. Well,
I was gonna.
oh, go ahead, Nick.
Yeah,
Jump over.
I was gonna ask too, just if we could go over kind of, so if somebody was looking to try to join anywhere in the U.S., join a American Legion, for that, veteran community, start building, could we talk a little bit about like how to kind of become a member, and then like how would you start learning about like the first meetings, and that kind
If
of start getting involved?
if you know a veteran, ask that veteran, are you in the American Legion? Are you in the Veterans of Foreign Wars? How can I belong? Well, if things are done right, you very politely say, all right, here's the address. When you're in that neighborhood, if it's close to you, stop by, bring a DD-214, we'll fill out the application, you become a member of the American Legion.
And then
And pay your dues.
I did drop in the chat, Nick, a find a post. And it's got the link in there. You start out on the legion.org. There's a link there that says click, find a post. You type in your zip code and it'll give you post 10 miles, 20 miles, or whatever.
Nice.
Awesome.
And then most communities, if you drive around a community, you will see a VFW. You will see an American Legion.
Yeah. Does the DD-214 have to be a particular type, like a member -4, or can it be any DD-214?
You need to have the discharge type on it.
Okay.
So
All right.
honorable, dishonorable, other,
Right.
Whatever on it. Yeah, that has to be on there.
Okay. Makes sense. Yeah, Nick, that was actually what I was going to ask. So way to be honest.
You're
All
slow,
over
Nick.
it.
You're slow.
Yeah, I'll make sure I get those links in the resources too.
Yeah, we'll have them in there for sure. So yeah, that's a great amount of information, and the good news is we can always have another interview and expand on it even further. But I want to be a part of kind of expanding how many members you guys have, maybe changing that percentage rate a little bit, getting more people from the GWAT. We thank you for listening, and we hope you got something helpful out of this.
Right now, the best way to support us is to simply spread the word. If you know a fellow veteran who could use some resources to elevate their life, send them our way.
Until next time, remember to check your 0s, 5s, 10s, and 25s.